Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 10th of May 2020 and the 2nd of Bashan 1736. I'm Andrew Nada, and in today's headlines, Europe and China on course for a reset. Coronavirus changed that. Australian military gets first drone that flies with artificial intelligence. UK overtakes Italy to record highest coronavirus death toll in Europe. As coronavirus hits record numbers in Russia, this is a dangerous time for Putin. A new genetic analysis shows coronavirus quickly spread around the world starting late last year. Rafael Nadal says 2020 tennis season is practically lost due to coronavirus pandemic. But first, before the coronavirus brought the world to its knees, 2020 has set to be a crucial year for the European Union and China. At a showpiece summit last September, the two are set to take a significant step forward in their economic and strategic relationship. At least that was the plan. China's response to the COVID-19 has left a bitter taste in the mouths of European officials. From extreme clampdowns on its own citizens to accusations of spreading misinformation in Europe, the crisis has been a reminder that closer engagement with China comes with a risk. There is a real sense that the pandemic has led to a reset in European thinking on China. Steven Blockmans, head of EU foreign policy at the Centre for European Policy Studies, said, "I think the coronavirus has been a necessary reminder to a lot of EU states that however attractive Chinese money looks, it is also a systematic rival." Last month, the European External Action Service published a report on disinformation surrounding COVID-19, saying that official and state-backed sources from various governments, including Russia and to a lesser extent China, have continued to widely target conspiracy narratives and disinformation. This lack of trust seems to be taking hold across European Union headquarters in Brussels, with senior officials saying Europe has been naive in its dealings with China, a country with a different understanding of the international order. Back home to Australia now, where the nation has announced its first loyal wingman. On Tuesday, Boeing Australia presented the country's Air Force with a prototype of a jet-powered drone that they hope will one day fly alongside manned warplanes while bringing artificial intelligence to the battlefield. According to Boeing's website on the project, the loyal wingman at 11.5 meters long and with a range of over 3,200 kilometers will use artificial intelligence to fly independently or in support of a manned aircraft, while maintaining a safe distance between other aircraft. The drones will be able to engage in electronic warfare as well as intelligence, reconnaissance and surveillance missions, and swap quickly between those roles. The aircraft delivered in Sydney on Tuesday is the first of 3 prototypes Boeing is producing. It is also the first aircraft to be designed, engineered and manufactured in Australia in more than 50 years. In a statement, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said, "The Loyal Wingman program has helped support around 100 high-tech jobs in Australia. Such projects will be critical to bolster growth and support jobs as the economy recovers from COVID-19 pandemic." The project represents Boeing's largest investment in unmanned aircraft outside the United States, with the drone expected to fly for the first time later this year. To the UK now, where it is now officially recorded more deaths from the coronavirus than any other country in Europe. On Tuesday, it was announced that 29,427 people had died from COVID-19 since the outbreak began, more than Italy and lower only than the United States. The official death toll in the US currently stands at over 76,000, according to figures collected by Johns Hopkins University. International comparisons are not flawless because the countries count deaths in different ways and with varying levels of accuracy. UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said at a daily government press briefing that a real verdict on how countries have done will not be fully available until after the pandemic is over. He said it's now clear that the second phase will be different and will need to adjust to a new normal. We want to make sure that the next phase is more comfortable, is more sustainable. But we need to be under no illusions. The next stage won't be easy. Italy and Spain, previously considered Europe's 2 hardest hit countries, are significantly further along in their outbreaks than the UK and have begun to slowly lift some lockdown restrictions. Russia reached a grim milestone on the weekend, officially recording the highest number of coronavirus cases it has seen in a 24-hour period, with 10,633 people testing positive. It adds up to a dangerous political moment for Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a new survey published by independent pollster Levada Center, less than half of the respondents, just 46%, said the Russian government had responded adequately to the crisis. Kremlin-controlled airwaves routinely feature Putin presiding remotely over meetings from his residence, as the country's economic crisis also worsens. Putin recently said, "What about the special insurance from the medical specialists that are now helping those patients, risking their lives and health? What about the additional monthly payments of 5,000 rubles for a child up to 3 years old for families that are entitled to maternity payments? I would like you to report on the implementation of these measures and whether this aid is perceptible for the people." The pandemic has even hit Putin's usually sky-high approval ratings. In March, as authorities acknowledged the spread of coronavirus in Russia, Levada Center found that Putin's approval rating had dropped to 63%, a level not seen since 2013. Coronavirus has hit Moscow, the country's political center of gravity, particularly hard. According to official statistics, the capital accounts for around half of the country's cases. Russia's embattled opposition has seized on the coronavirus crisis to step up its criticism of the president, particularly over the Kremlin's economic response to the crisis. To some health news, and a new genetic analysis of the virus that causes COVID-19, taken from more than 7,600 patients around the world, shows it has been circulating in people since late last year, and must have spread extremely quickly after the first infection. Researchers from the University College London Genetics Institute looked at mutations in the virus and found evidence of quick spread. However, there was no evidence that the virus was becoming more easily transmitted or more likely to cause serious disease. Genetics researcher Francois Ballot said the virus is changing, but this in itself does not maintain it's getting worse. This rules out any scenario that assumes COVID-19 may have been in circulation long before it was identified, and hence have already infected large proportions of the population. Viral sequences were compiled from a giant global database that scientists around the world are using to share data. They looked at samples taken at different times and from different places, and said they indicate that the virus first started infecting people at the end of last year. Some doctors had hoped the virus was circulating for many months and may have quietly infected many more people than has been reported. That would offer the hope that there might be some immunity already built up in some populations. Researchers estimate that 10% of the global population has been exposed to the virus. And in sport, Rafael Nadal fears the 2020 tennis season has been lost to the coronavirus pandemic and admits he is already focusing his attention on next year's Australian Open. The ATP and WTA tours have been suspended until at least mid-July, with Wimbledon already cancelled and the French Open, where Nadal has won a record 12 titles, postponed until late September. However, the 19-time Grand Slam champion is doubtful of returning to the court anytime this year. In an interview on Tuesday, he said, "I hope we're able to return this year, but I don't think we will. Unfortunately, I would sign up to be ready for 2021. Hopefully. I'm more concerned about the Australian Open than about what happens later this year. I see 2020 as practically lost. I hope to be able to start next year. That's what I wish." Nadal is dedicating some of his free time to helping those in need and has teamed up with Spanish NBA star Pau Gasol and joined the Red Cross Responds, a project aiming to distribute food and care packages and provide support to more than 1.3 million vulnerable people across the country. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. Stay home, stay safe. I'm Andrew Nada, and from the CYC studios in Sydney, have a great night.